open records, and there's a copy of them in the paperclip. Just hand them out to people to enjoy. But also, I mean, and there they are to be scared and to be shredded.
I mean, you're motivated. Okay, strongly about that opinion. That's not a bad motive. So I don't think
this was right. It was just
I was afraid that it came across like
on the incredible scanning.
that the
And so
expectation
it was
they'll just finish it later. Because there wasn't any wrongdoing apart. That was that.
please don't scan.
I appreciate the clarification.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Let's just take it to the dumpsters. And they, well, but how do you know? What? Yeah, but if I do, it would be different.
Like first,
Yeah. I know.
yeah.
And I said,
You just say, I am the head.
yeah, yeah.
I'm the one that tells everyone else what they know.
Well, no, but yeah. It's just, yeah.
Very literal.
Yes. 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 And we have a huge group. And there's not much. So I'm going to. I did all the stuff first. Other than that, there was nothing in there that is of significance. I mean, I'll put a few things, but we can definitely get.
Okay, if everybody will go ahead and find a seat, we'll get started.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Call the meeting to order. Go ahead and take roll.
Commissioner Allen,
Present.
Commissioner Norwood,
Here.
Commissioner Zell,
Here.
Commissioner Waddell,
Here.
Commissioner Stallings,
Here.
Mayor Pinkinen.
Here. All right, thank you. Item number 2, invocation and flag salute. Our invocation tonight will be by Dan Scheidel. Flag salute is going to be led by Alyssa Lack. I got too many letters in the last name. Dan?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we just praise you and thank you for the diversity of gifts and graces within this room and the beautiful variety and variance of the characters, personalities, people's interests, and activities that are represented throughout our whole community. May brotherly love and godly gentleness be the precious garment with which we are all clothed, and may we be of one mind and united in spirit and humble in heart, having the same love and working together with one intent, united in purpose. May we put aside our personal agendas and all exclusive principles that may give rise to ungodly or unnecessary or divisive arguments. And may our Lord Jesus Christ, who shed his blood on the cross and rose again to give us life, be the one to whom we all focus our gaze upon, and whose name we pray. Amen.
Join me for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
Which is
which
stands
stands
one
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Alyssa. Item number 3, minutes. 3.1, consider approval of the minutes of the rescheduled regular commission meeting of March 16th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion, corrections? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote.
Mr. Allen,
Aye.
Mr. Norwood,
Aye.
Mr. Zell,
Aye.
Mr. Waddell,
Aye.
Mr. Stallings,
Aye.
Mayor Pinkinen.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. Item number 4, awards, presentations, proclamations, and organizational business. Item number 4.1, present pet available for adoption at the city's animal welfare department.
It's okay.
Hey, I'm Erica, and I brought Maggie with me this evening. Maggie is a 2 to 4-year-old border collie mix who was found as a stray and nobody ever claimed her. She takes a little bit to warm up. At the shelter, she's super loving and loves to give hugs and is pretty open to meeting anyone, but she's a little freaked out this evening, but that's okay. She's never been to something like this. So Maggie is available for adoption. She's located in Pen 30, and she is ready to go home whenever you are. So come out and meet her.
All right. Okay, thank you. Item number 4.2, recognize City of Enid Employees of the Month.
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, I have the pleasure of recognizing 4 city employees tonight for the months of January, February, and March. So first, I'd like to recognize Josh Redding and Chuck Hedges from our solid waste department. If you guys would come on up here, please. And Tim, if you'd come on up too. And David Hunter, if you'd like to come up as well. Josh and Chuck run our boom trucks in solid waste, among other things. So all of that brush pickup, a lot of that brush pickup, they were the ones doing it. And they're the ones that normally do all of that stuff. So they did a phenomenal job, and they've been recognized by their fellow employees as being employees of the month of January. And so I want to present them with plaques and a couple of coins tonight. And then I'm sure their supervisors may have something to say, something else wonderful to say about them. And so thank you, guys. But Tim, do you want to say some things? You work with them every day. Come on up to the microphone. And David, you as well. And then they may want to say something. Chuck's a comedian, so he probably has something to say.
So like Mr. Gilbert was saying, these guys are the guys who run their clamshell trucks. They do all of our big cleanups. You know, these guys, they've handled just in this past year alone, hundreds of thousands of tons of debris and trash. And it's really great to have guys like this because each time it happens, it gets easier. And it's because of these two. And then we'll have Alex here after these guys coming up. So I just want to say thanks for the good work. And I appreciate you guys letting us recognize.
I don't have really much to say except, you know, these guys are really unsung heroes. They come out every day, weekends, whenever they're called. They make Tim's and my jobs incredibly easy. So, I mean, I really didn't have that much to do with them coming out there. They are showing that experience, that image of a customer service, teamwork, and collaboration. They always come in with a attitude. Chuck always sticks his head in my office and has some joke or something to say, and Josh as well. So regardless of the hard work they're doing, I've never seen them frowning or anything else like that. And that's exemplary of a lot of people that we have on staff.
Okay. All right. All we got to do is get a microphone.
I think we saw one of his.
Okay, for February, Faith Melton, who works for Everett and logs in cartograph stuff, works with Larry LaRue on our concrete point repair program. And you may remember when we did the presentation, it's probably been a month or two ago on concrete repair, she was here as well, but she was selected as Employee of the Month for February. So Faith, come on up, and Everett.
I would like to thank Faith for what she does for us. She takes care of our cartograph, which is our asset program that takes everything we can, all the way down to a culvert, to streets, to lights, all that stuff. She keeps track of all that. Plus, she also keeps us on track with our point repair program with Larry, like Gerald was saying, and make sure we don't get cross-tracked on our paperwork and things like that. And it keeps things running smooth. So she's one of my favorite employees because that's our favorite stuff is our street work, right? So, and she's helping us keep track of all that. She's.
Boy, we've got a theme about solid waste tonight because Alex Oakley is our Employee of the Month for March, and she also works in solid waste and answers the phone, logs calls, schedules and communicates with the team about these pickups and provides customer service. So Alex, would you come on up here? And Tim and David, you're on again.
So Alex is the girl that works our office. She takes our phone calls, she answers our emails and all the voicemails. I don't know how many thousands that she took just in the storm cleanup itself, but she's been doing the job for a while. What, 6 years, 8 years now? Longer than me. And she's kind of the coordinator of the whole department. I call her a dispatcher. She's our line of communication with customers and drivers. And I can't say how important her job is for customer service. So thank you for doing a great job. And again, thanks for letting us recognize her.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to say the same. One thing with all the calls that she took, just like Chuck doing all the work, never bad attitude, always a smile on her face. And if I poke my head in, she has the information I need right there and then. So people like this make our job easy, and they're kind of the thing that make Enid great. You know, the people that we all rely on, but you never see. They just do their job. They come in and they're just there. And they're very dependable and great to work with.
Good. Okay, next up is item 4.3. Recognize the City of Enid City Clerk for her 8 years of service to her community. Gerald?
You know, we've been very blessed to have Alyssa Lack work with us at the City of Enid for approximately 8 years or so. And Alyssa spent part of that time as an account clerk in the city clerk's office and eventually was hired as the assistant city clerk and did a fantastic job in those roles. And I'm sure many of you remember Linda Parks, who was here for something like 45 years. And when Linda left, we all wondered, you know, gosh, Linda was kind of the model of professionalism and how to be a city clerk. So for a few moments, we thought, well, gosh, this is going to be hard to replace. And Alyssa took on the challenge. I think she did a fantastic job. And she's done this for now probably, well, since Linda left. And gosh, it's been 4 or so years or more than that. And one of the things that I really appreciate about Alyssa is I know she loves her job. And so she's done a fantastic job. And I think, Linda's record of 45 years might be hard to break, but I think Alyssa would have been here longer because I think she loved the job. But her husband, Cody, got a promotion and she's moving to El Dorado in Arkansas. And so we are going to lose her on or around the 23rd. In fact, I think this is the last meeting she's going to be here with us. So I thought that we would be remiss if we didn't publicly recognize her and allow her a chance to say a few words. And I do have a few parting gifts for you, but if you'd like to say some things, please do. I will miss you personally. You've done a fantastic job. I've got some stuff for you. I'm going to come over to you. I don't know if this mic can pick me up or not, but Alyssa probably has one of these nice Mike Clemmy books on celebrating Enid, but I thought she probably needed an extra one to take to Arkansas with her so she could go up to City Hall in El Dorado and probably put this on the coffee table or something around the city manager's office and explain to her all the experience she'd be bringing from Enid. So I'm going to leave that with you. I also have a nice little pin that says Enid, so you can plaster that somewhere in El Dorado. And then I don't know if we ever gave you a coin or not for outstanding performance. That's what this is. It's not really worth any more in Arkansas than it is here, but it's something nice, and I want to give it to you. Thank you, Alyssa. You've made a difference, and I will miss you, and I think we'll all miss you. So thank you.
As the mayor, I have occasion to talk with the city clerk a lot. I get to, when the meetings are over every night, she gives me the opportunity to sign my name 100 times, maybe. I feel like I'm back in school writing on the board. But everything is well organized. It's all done. Trying to keep track of that is a massive job, and it's always been done just perfect. So I'd like to offer you one of my mayor coins as well for the good work that you've done. Thank you. All right. Item number 4.4, present a safe digging proclamation. Mr. DeBoer, if you'd come forward, please. It's a little strange not being in chambers because you're backwards, forwards, trying to figure this out. So forgive me if this looks not the way I'd like it to look. It's a proclamation. It reads as follows. Whereas each year the nation's underground utility infrastructure is jeopardized by unintentional damage by those who fail to call 811 to have underground lines located prior to digging. Undesired consequences such as service interruption, damaged environment, and personal injury, and even death are potential results. And whereas the Common Ground Alliance and its 1,700 members promotes the national call before you dig number 811 in an effort to reduce these damages. Designated by the FCC in 2005, 811 provides potential excavators and homeowners a simple number to reach their local one-call center to request utility line locations at intended dig site. And whereas through education of safe digging practices, excavators and homeowners can save time and money, keeping our nation safe and connected by making a simple call to 811 in advance of any digging project, waiting the required amount of time, respecting the marked lines by maintaining visual definition throughout the course of the excavation, and finally digging with care around the marks. And whereas all parties agree that safe digging is a shared responsibility, to know what's below, call 811 before you dig. Therefore, I, George C. Pankinen, Mayor of the City of Enid, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2021 as National Safe Digging Month, and encourage excavators and homeowners throughout the country to always call 811 before digging. Safe digging is no accident. Witness whereof, I have hereunder set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Enid to be affixed on this 6th day of April 2021. Signed, George C. Pankinen, Mayor of Enid. Go. Item 4.5, present the Week of the Young Children Proclamation. If I can ask Kim Kelly to come forward. Kim. All right, another proclamation. Whereas a child's cognitive, physical, social, emotional, and language literacy development is built upon a foundation of positive interactions with adults, peers, and the environment. And whereas a high percentage of mothers must return to work in the first 6 weeks after birth, causing them to place their child in care. And whereas high quality early care and education can help lessen the effects of poverty, detect and remediate developmental delays, identify and help prevent abuse and neglect, and lead to positive outcomes for children. And whereas working families need a robust regulatory structure to give them peace of mind that their children are safe and in high quality care and educational settings. And whereas early childhood educators should earn a family sustaining wage commensurate with the required education and skills that support their complex work that they do. And whereas this year is the 50th anniversary of the observance of the Week of the Young Child, now therefore, I, George C. Pankinen, Mayor of Enid, Oklahoma, do hereby proclaim April 10th through April 16th as the Week of the Young Child, and recognize the complex, valuable, essential, and demanding work of early childhood educators. In witness whereof, I have hereunder set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Enid to be affixed this 6th day of April 2021. Thanks, Kim. Right. Item 4.6, consider appointment of Ward 6 Commissioner to fill an unexpired term to May 2021. We received a resignation from Commissioner Funk, who has resigned as the Ward 6 Commissioner. What I'd like to do is move to appoint the recently elected Commissioner, Scott Orr, to assume his position early. So that's my motion. Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Mr. Norwood,
Aye.
Commissioner Zell,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell,
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings,
Aye.
and Mayor Pinkerton.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. Item 4.7, administer oath of office to newly appointed Commissioner for Ward 6. Scott, if you could come up to the podium, please. All right. Okay, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Scott Orr,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
and that I will not knowingly
and I will not knowingly
receive directly or indirectly
receive directly or indirectly
any money or other valuable thing
money
for the performance or non-performance
for the performance or non-performance
of any act or duty pertaining to my office,
of any act or duty pertaining to my office,
other than the compensation allowed by law.
other than the compensation allowed by law.
I further swear
I duly swear
that I will faithfully discharge my duties as Ward 6 Commissioner
that I will faithfully discharge my duties as Ward 6 Commissioner of
of the City of Enid to the best of my ability.
the City of Enid to the best of my ability.
Welcome, Commissioner. Please take your seat. Okay, item number 5 is administration. Item number 5.1, consider taking from the table an item to consider an ordinance adding to the Enid Municipal Code 2014 Title 5 entitled Public Safety, Chapter 1 entitled Police, Section 4 entitled Demographic Data Collection, providing for repealer, savings clause severability, and codification.
I put this back on the agenda. I wanted to take the opportunity with, I know that we talked about this last time. Jerry and George, the two of you in particular, said you had a lot of questions and wanted more information. And it's been a few weeks.
Do we, if it's on the table, don't we have to do, are we allowed to speak? I think what we have to do is either a straight up or down vote to bring it back to the table before we discuss.
We can discuss. Okay, Mayor, the attorney's up here.
Yes.
The attorney, can we discuss whether to pull it off the table?
It's not debatable. So if you have a motion and a second, it's not debatable under Robert's Rules of Order. I didn't realize that last time. I didn't have my book. So I erred on the side of discussion. But I have looked, I was asked, I've looked, it's not debatable.
Really?
Okay, so we have a motion removed to bring it to the table.
Yeah, I will move to pull it off the table so we can discuss it.
Second. Motion and a second. No discussion is allowed. Call for the vote.
Mr. Allen,
Nay.
Mr. Norwood,
No.
Mr. Ezell,
Aye.
Mr. Waddell,
Aye.
Mr. Stallings,
Aye.
Mr. Orr,
Nay.
Mayor Pinkinen,
Nay.
motion fails 5-2.
Motion fails 5-2. Okay. Item number 6, consent agenda items.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, call for the vote.
Mr. Allen,
Aye.
Mr. Norwood,
Aye.
Mr. Ezell,
Aye.
Mr. Waddell,
Aye.
Mr. Stallings,
Aye.
Mr. Orr,
Aye.
Mayor Pinkinen.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Item number 7, recess to convene as the Enid Municipal Authority. Item number 8, all trustees of the Enid Municipal Authority regular meeting are in attendance. Item number 9, the Enid Municipal Authority regular meeting is now in session. Item number 9.1, approval of claims in the amount of $509,001.69.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote.
Mr. Allen,
Aye.
Mr. Norwood,
Aye.
Mr. Ezell,
Aye.
Mr. Waddell,
Aye.
Mr. Stallings,
Aye.
Mr. Orr,
Aye.
Mayor Pinkinen.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Item number 10, adjourn to convene as the Enid Economic Development Authority. Item number 11, all trustees of the Enid Economic Development Authority regular meeting are in attendance. Item number 12, Enid Economic Development Authority regular meeting is now in session. Item number 12.1, approval of claims in the amount of $200,000.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote.
Mr. Allen,
Aye.
Mr. Norwood,
Aye.
Mr. Ezell,
Aye.
Mr. Waddell,
Aye.
Mr. Stallings,
Aye.
Mr. Orr,
Aye.
Mayor Pinkinen.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Item number 13, adjourn to convene as the Enid Public Transportation Authority. Item number 14, all trustees of the Enid Public Transportation Authority regular meeting are in attendance. Item number 15, Enid Public Transportation Authority regular meeting is now in session. Item number 15.1, approval of claims in the amount of $2,963.32.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood,
Aye.
And
Commissioner Zell,
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell,
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr,
Aye.
Mayor Pinkinen.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Item number 16, adjourn to reconvene as the Enid City Commission. Item number 17, public comments. I'll take them in the order they were signed up. Jerry Allen.
Thank you, Mayor. So you may wonder what happened tonight. We did not take the item off on item 5.1, take it off the table. It failed, and that meant that the discussion was over. However, we're going to take public comment during this time. So if you've signed up, you're going to get to speak. I have in front of me a document from Jones Wyatt law firm dated July 7th, 1994. This document's 32 pages long with footnotes, and it describes what the Police Civil Service Commission and the relationship with the Chief of Police and the City Commission. So what I've done is basically gone through and put this in chronological order of the events that have occurred since the City of Enid was organized. And it's not going to take a minute to read this, but it'll kind of bring you up to date and give you what direction we're moving in. This is the history of Enid and the Police Civil Service Commission. Paraphrasing Stephen Jones, July 7th, 1994. So 1893 to 1937, chiefs of police were appointed by the mayor. During that time, 27 chiefs were appointed. 1909, Enid created a charter that was passed by the citizens of Enid. From 1935 to 1937, and again from 1937 to 1939, John J. Allen, my great-grandfather, was mayor. During his 2 terms for 4 years, he oversaw the creation by city charter of the Police Civil Service Commission. In the 84 years since there have been 14 chiefs. So it made an impact. In 1937, the charter was changed by passage of the people to establish the Chief of Police, the Police Civil Service Commission, and the Mayor and Board of Commissioners, and that the sole policymaking authority of the police department is the Chief of Police. This was done in order to take the police department out of political patronage and place it on a merit system. The duties of the Police Civil Service Commission are to hire, fire, discipline, and promote by merit the candidates that apply. In 1947, the charter was amended to institute a city manager form of government, which remains today. In 1937 to 1994, there have been 5 attempts to control the Enid Police Department by the City Commission, all resulting in the fact that supervising the Chief of Police is not an enumerated function of this commission. In addition, the charter allows commission control over the city manager. However, it does not grant those powers over the Police Civil Service Commission to control the Chief of Police, and that was done deliberately. That being said, the power of the chief is checked by the explicit authority of the Police Civil Service Commission to remove the chief for good cause shown. Thus, the practical experience in the government of the City of Enid has been that the proper role of the city commission is to appropriate funds for the operation of the Enid Police Department. It is not the function of the commission to direct the chief of police to implement programs of dubious merit against his better judgment. The commission simply cannot do indirectly that which the charter forbids it from doing directly. Finally, the police are our guardians. They protect our community. They must not and should not play favorites. They cannot be expected to look the other way. There is nothing in the history of the department during the last 84 years that the Police Civil Service Commission has been in place, which would suggest that the trust of the citizens in a professional, politically free police department has been abused or misplaced. The Police Civil Service Commission must be given a large amount of the credit for the professionalism in the police department enjoyed by the city today. Now, these are my words. That being said, the question of systemic racism or racial profiling has been brought up regarding the Enid Police Department. This commission is in the process of creating an advisory committee to look into those allegations. This is a process not to be taken lightly and is nothing to rush into. An announcement will be forthcoming after the new commission is seated in May and the results divulged later this summer. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Next signer was Ron Wade. I wanted to talk about 5.1, so I assume it's the same issue. You're free to speak if you like.
I didn't know I was going to go first. Okay. Ron Wade, lived in Enid since 2014, 40-year aerospace engineering career. I have used so many handfuls of different programs, computer programs. In fact, even different same versions of the same program. Two different versions of the same program have a hard time communicating with each other. With that said, I have watched the online meeting. Last time this subject was considered. EDP is in compliance with all federal and state requirements. I can understand your frustration that in this digital age, that data was not forthcoming in a timely manner. In this digital age, we expect answers to our questions within a 2-minute perspective. What I did not appreciate was that the frustration worked out into inferences to and almost accusations about Enid PD purposely trying to deny or delay the data, even inferences of a cover-up or something. When they did provide the data, you guys, some did not like the numbers. The numbers are what the numbers are. As an engineer, I deal with numbers. Whether you like them or not, the numbers are what they are. Are the numbers skewed with respect to repeat offenses? That I don't know. But I do think it probably is so. And I base that off of my being a chaplain at the assistant chaplain at the medium security prison at Crabtree. I believe that we do have a problem, but I think it's more so based on what I heard from the last meeting, that different programs are having a hard time talking with one another. The data is available. So I do believe that that's the primary issue. What it does not speak to, so it's about pulling the data together. I don't believe that we should be requiring this type of additional reporting. Again, we meet the federal and state requirements.
Thank you for your time. Okay, thank you. Douglas Deshire?
My name is Douglas De Silva.
Sorry.
One of the things, you're fine. One of the things like Jerry Allen brought up in the research that I've done, it's not under the city charter, the purview of the city council to dictate the running of the police department and rules and policy. So first and foremost, it should, in my opinion, stay tabled because it's not your guys' purview, even as elected officials. Second, I've done a little bit of research myself. I called many other law enforcement agencies here in the state of Oklahoma, some sheriff's departments, some municipalities. 13 of them were kind enough to get back to me. Out of those 13, none of those 13 do any type of demographics when it comes to regular interactions. The only time they have any type of demographics that are pulled is if the person is detained or arrested. Okay, that's the only time. And that then also goes into public record. So one of the other things you're going to do if this ever does come back and passes is you're going to create a report for every person that they interact with, which now also goes into public record. A lot of people are not going to want that personal information in a public record system. So that's one of my other concerns is in a way it does chip away at liberties and freedoms because that information necessarily does not need to be out there. But that's how I feel about it and basically what I wanted to say. So I appreciate your guys' time today. Thank you.
Thank you. Yvette Davis? No. Having a little trouble reading the writing on the first name. Is there anybody last name Davis? Okay. Maria Eves? Okay, she left. Thank you. Lucille Pitt?
Good evening.
Good evening.
When we last were here discussing the demographics as to why more people of color are being arrested than compared to their population, the population of Enid, that was tabled. We were hoping that tonight we'd get information about it. I'm finding it extremely difficult to I listened to what you said about the Police Civil Service Commission and that who's over the police. My understanding was that from what you read, am I correct that it's the Police Civil Service Commission? So that the city appropriates money to the police, but they do not control the police.
Not since 1937.
Since 1937. It's difficult to sit here and believe that there's never been any data collected or kept to show the differences in how different groups are treated by the police. All over the country that's done. I cannot believe that that's not being done here in Enid. This gentleman, I think you said you're the assistant chaplain from Crabtree. We're volunteers at Crabtree, have been since 1995. There is information available. There has to be. If statistics and data are kept on everything else, why not that? I've done studies showing in the criminal justice system, statistics on how Blacks, Natives, other groups are being kept, being arrested. I remember last year, there was a young Native American girl who was probationed in Oklahoma City. She had a $50 marijuana charge. The judge put her on probation for 50 years. That is ridiculous. That means she cannot leave the state. So it's hard to sit here and believe that there have not been any data demographics kept about the arrest that's going on in Enid. I'm finding that very hard to believe. And this gentleman implied that everything that has been presented has been sufficient and it should not be brought up again. Is that what you were saying? I don't want to misinterpret, but something is wrong. Last time we were here, Mr. Ezell spoke about the efforts that he had made trying to get data on the demographics of how many persons of color are arrested compared to others. And we were hoping that information would have been available. And you're telling me that those records are not maintained. And I'm finding that just very hard to believe. We have a problem right now with truthfulness in our government from the federal government on down. We're seeing a lot of persons who are not my skin color who commit crimes and excuses are being made. He had a bad day, so he shot all of these people. In Las Vegas, when that man killed 30-something people, he had a mental illness. But when it comes to someone who looks like me, we have no excuses. No excuses are made for us. We're just portrayed as persons who commit more crimes than others. That is not the case. And as long as we do not have people in government to represent us, those figures will continue to be skewed so that one group will come out looking bad while another group who looks like you will come out looking good. So that crimes are committed by everybody, regardless of color. But if the criminal justice system is showing one group more than another, it gives the public the impression that one group is better than the other. And that translates into behavior against certain groups. So I'm just amazed that the information that was requested has not been presented. And I hope that from now on, data on demographics will be kept because we need to know what's going on. Because we see when my son leaves the house, I always have to pray, Lord, please don't let him have an encounter with the police. We should not have to go through that in America. We've been gone through that from the days of slavery. I remember one year my son was invited to Wyoming to a friend's wedding. His friend was white. And he said, we're going to drive to Wyoming. And I said, please don't. And he said, no, we're going to go. And the friend who was supposed to drive with him couldn't go, so he wanted to go alone. And I got on my knees. I said, Lord, my child is Black. Driving from Oklahoma to Wyoming by himself, please don't let him go. The Lord let something happen to his car so that he could not go. We should not have to do that with our children. You don't have to do it with yours. My son was riding with a friend of his in Oklahoma City. His friend was white, driving the wrong direction, and he looked at my son and said, you can't do this because you're Black. So there are problems, and we need to confront those problems. And as long as we try to hide things, push it under the rug, make excuses for one group versus another, we're never going to resolve those problems. And we're going to continue to have meetings like this when nothing gets done and everything is swept under the rug. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Ms. Pitt, I've known of your family for many, many years. And after the meeting, I will come back and visit with you because I believe you've misinterpreted what's taken place here tonight.
Okay.
And
Can I listen to?
I'll spend time visiting with you about it.
Yes.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Me?
No. I was just hoping I could listen in on the conversation because I'd like some clarity as well.
Okay. Thank you. I'll be waiting.
Okay. Next up is Ben Ezell. Commissioner.
She can go.
Oh, Ray Graves. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm with him. I'm confused also then, because if you say you're gonna table this and there's no more discussion about it, then you're saying things could stay as they are. And maybe I'm misunderstanding it, okay? If I am, I apologize. But racism is here. I've seen it in my 59 years, soon to be 60 in 2 more years. I have seen it, I've felt it. A friend of mine was left, and I respect the cops tremendously. I've been to one of their sessions where it was for months, and I enjoyed it tremendously. I got to understand a lot. But also, a friend of mine died in their possession. He was locked up in one of those chairs, and you know about it, yeah, for hours and hours. And they did not check on him. He had health problems. He died right there in that chair. So yes. And last week, Ms. Noble mentioned about a man that was hung by a tree. So yes, and what you said within 80 years, it has been. I'm just going on 59, soon to be 60, and I've felt some stuff. But I want to read this card because for us and for you, for every one of us, it's okay to say we are not okay, because we are not. We're scared, we're angry, and for sure we are tired. On top of all that, we are expected to smile. There's a poem by Paul Lawrence Dunbar said, "We wear the mask." And we do every day. We step out the house, we go to the job, we have to act a certain way. And that is all true. And then when we come home, be ourselves. That's the mask we wear every day of our life. Okay?
Mrs. Graves, could you address your remarks to the commission instead of the audience, please?
And we function like everything's supposed to be okay. But we have the right to feel how we do. We have that right. You have the right. You have a right to cry, to scream, to shout, and close out the world and dream of something better. We have the right to be who we are. Everyone in this world has the right to be who we are. Why? Because we were made by one God. So we all have the right to be who we are. In this moment, we do what we got to do. As I mentioned last time at the meeting, I was a teacher. I was an interpreter for the hearing impaired. My student, she did not like me at first. She did not like Blacks. I asked her why you don't like Black people. She said that my arm is damaged. I can't do sign language anymore. But she said that all Black people are bad. She said they're bad. I said, no. She said, yes. I said, why you think that? She said she sees it on TV. She said, that's all it shows. With Black people, they're bad. I said, no. She said, well, Black men. I said, I have Black brothers. She said, well, not your brother. I said, no, I understand. But after a while, she got to understanding that. But we had to educate her to that. Well, the question I asked was, why do most people think Black people are bad? Because what is shown. We are not. So we have to be educated. And that's what they're trying to do, is educate what's happening even here in Enid. You might not think it is, but it is. So that's what I had to educate my student. I love her, Julie. When she graduated, she made sure I was at her graduation. When she got married, she made sure I came to her wedding. She lives out of town, and she would call me or text me on Facebook. When she had her children, she wanted me to be up at the hospital with her. That was such a blessing. It was wonderful. But that's what this world needs. There was a pastor, just one more thing, I'm finished. There was a pastor in Texas who said his sermon was, y'all heard the commercial Verizon? Can you hear me now? In my 59 years, I've never seen a pandemic like this. So for me, God has said, can you hear me now? God has said, can we hear him now of what he wants us to do and get things right? So God said, can you hear me now? It's time for all of us to come as one and come together and then get it together. But that's all I want to say. It's okay that we are not okay. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Izzo?
Mayor, I think Lenita Norwood has signed up on Zoom, Derek tells me.
Oh, okay. Ma'am, are you there?
Lenita, are you still hanging around?
Maybe we've lost her, Mayor, so.
Yeah, well, she may call back. Commissioner Izzo, you can go ahead if you like, and if she gets in, then we'll let her speak.
Sure. I'm going to read a brief brief passage. This is from a guidebook put together by a nonprofit called the Center for Policing Equity in cooperation with NYU Law and some other institutions. At its core, much of the movement toward gathering stop data, police stop data, is motivated by a desire to identify and root out biased policing outcomes. It is important to note, however, that most stop data collection can do is identify disparities. A disparity is a difference between the likelihood of a given outcome for different groups. For example, the likelihood of being pulled over or being searched during a traffic stop. Disparity does not mean there has been discrimination, which generally requires showing discriminatory intent. Putting aside the question of intent, it's necessary to understand the unequivocal impact of policing on certain groups. Even if an officer, a unit, or an agency does not intend to target a specific group of people, unequal effects might still be caused by training, policing, or protocol, as well as by implicit bias. There is much to learn from identifying disparities. The mere fact that they exist is reason to act, regardless of whether the underlying cause is discrimination or not, because disparities can strain police, community relations, as well as officer efficacy. Before any disparities in policing can be addressed, however, they must first be diagnosed. Consistent, standardized, and high-quality data on stops are crucial for this. Jerry, you and in the newspaper yesterday, the chief of police, I think both made a basic flawed argument. You are, and so is Brian, linking oversight with politics, linking accountability with politics. Historically, there was a time where the chief of police was a patronage position. But removing politics, making it a merit-based position, doesn't also mean that the department's free of accountability, free of responsibility to the public and to answer to the public body. The Police Civil Service Commission has a really narrow scope. And Milton, you're here, you probably know as well as anybody, the Police Civil Service Commission, they hire and fire. That's all they can do. They don't pass policies, they don't review a budget, they don't pass ordinances. We actually passed an ordinance as recently as 2015 directing the chief of police to do something. It's ordinance 2015-3. It's on the books at Title 5, section chapter 1, subsection 3. We have a whole book, chapter in the Enid ordinances related to public safety, and there's a chapter for the police department. It's not a lot there, but it's there. We also control the budget. We do vote on the police's budget. We don't just rubber stamp the police's budget. That's this body's job. And we pass ordinances. Taking this seriously requires action. The chief of police and the Enid Police Department did not show curiosity in their own data and have stalled and put up barriers and made it awfully hard to get what little information we've been able to get. The chief of police is so uninterested, he's not here tonight when this is on the agenda. And the police department staff that is here, Captain Singleton, sat in a meeting in February and told Jonathan and I and Carol that this data was easy. There was no problem to pull it any time. And then it took a month and a half to get it, and it was rife with errors. It's great to say that, Jerry, that we're going to come back and take this seriously, but actions are more important than those words. Actions are what, actually make a difference, what can change things. We have a problem. The horribly inconsistent data we do have raises some pretty serious red flags. And if we had accurate and complete data, I expect we would have, we'd have a better picture. If the police department's doing things really well, if the police department is doing a great job, they should be the first ones looking for this data. Because if you're doing something well, you want to be able to show the world. And you want to be able to back that up with data. That has not been the case. This wasn't the case a year ago when we were talking about the police union contract. It has not been the case during multiple meetings, both public meetings and meetings not in public meetings. This has not been the case with emails and phone calls. This has been repeated efforts by the police department to be free of accountability. And that's simply not right. Public bodies are accountable to the public. Having some panel that you're thinking of putting together, Jerry, at some point in the future, I'm sure out of the public eye, doesn't exactly make a statement to our community that we care about this. Your actions in the coming months, as I'm gone, I've got one more meeting after this and I'm out of here. That's
please
kind of a dick move there. Now, what you do in the coming months matters. Not having meetings and making recommendations that are ignored, but actually seeing substantive change. That stuff matters. Making our community safer matters. Making our community, giving our community the data to be able to trust our police department matters. And we've got some history in this community that we've got to grapple with that we haven't. We've got history in the community that has informed so much of our town. Not even agreeing to talk about this in a public meeting is disgusting. The 5 of you that voted no, I am appalled. These are the venues to talk about this. This is what the governing body does. This is what we're supposed to do. I don't know how we can say with a straight face that equity and fairness and accountability are important in our community if we're not willing to do anything about it. It's going to be in your lap, folks, but sticking your head in the sand or making some meaningless recommendations from an appointed body that doesn't meet in public and has no teeth, that's not a solution either. It's just kicking it down the road until we have bigger problems in front of us, until we get sued, until we have a serious event like, Mr. Huff's death was really unfortunate. It was wrong. And it was not in a city facility, it was in a county facility. And the county paid millions and millions of dollars to his family, as they should. But the better answer is to treat people right from the outset. Data is important in every part of what we do in this body. Don't half-ass it. Take it seriously. Listen, Marcia, that's not the way it works. So,
Hey. Speak on this issue, but I was told I couldn't because we're not going to have a discussion on here.
Hold on. Hey,
You don't need to preach. You've been elected out.
All right.
I want to sign up to talk. I asked you when I walked in to speak.
Hey, I am, we don't have to.
Commissioner, I think you've made your point. Unless you have more information or different information, I think you've made your point.
I think that this has been embarrassing and that the 5 of you should look real hard in the future And those of us that are the two of you, they'll be replacing Jonathan and I soon. Being afraid of collecting data doesn't mean you're doing something well. It means you don't want to know what the answer is.
Okay. Commissioner Waddell, did you say you wanted to speak?
Yeah, 2 points. First point is, if the argument is that this commission doesn't have the authority in order to be able to impose any policies or even request anything from the police, and whatever commission you're talking about putting together doesn't have the authority either, because they'd only be acting underneath your authority. So why waste the time even going through that mechanism just to show lip service to whoever you think is paying attention? Second thing, I'm just going to reiterate what Commissioner Ezell just said. This is the heart of conservative country. This is a place where conservative values to where we don't necessarily trust the government. Better yet, we'll say what Reagan said, trust but verify. Verification comes from the data. And what we've made a conscious decision to do is not gather any. So it kind of is what it is. Not going to ring that bell any further.
Okay. That's all that have signed up. Ma'am? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
She wants to come back, may not.
Please.
Not open up a can of worms.
Yeah.
Not spend.
Yeah.
The rest of the night.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry that Mr. Zell will be leaving. Part of the problems that we have in our country right now is that when people want to address things that are wrong, they're silenced, voted out of office, or what have you. The last time we would hear that gentleman who just got up, who was escorted out, was lauding the praises of the police and how great they are and so on and so forth. We are not anti-police. In 2018, 2019, I took gifts to police in certain cities because of the way that they had served me and what they had done to help me and my family when something happened to our car on the highway. When policemen do well, they should be applauded. When they don't, they should be spoken against. But I'm gathering that there is no control over the police. Who do they answer to? And when someone sees something going on wrong and they speak out against it, nothing's going to happen. I know you said that an advisory committee will be appointed to look into what we are concerned about, but who do they answer to? What recommendations do they give? What findings will they come out with? And if they come out with some negative findings, will the public even know anything about it?
Yes, they will.
This gentleman said we live in a conservative state. One of the unfortunate things that I see going on is that people are equating conservatism with righteousness. They're totally separate. So that what I'm seeing is that, I'm going to get a little partisan. Republicans talk religion.
Please don't.
Democrats live religion. There's a difference. We have just seen an attack on our Capitol January 6th. We saw something else the other day because people do not want to face the fact that the last president was voted out.
Ma'am,
So
that's not germane to the discussion that we have tonight.
I'm talking about truth.
I know,
And how we
you are.
fail to truth. Why can't we deal with truth about the police department, about what's happening at the jail? We've toured the jail.
Right.
We know about some of the things that go on there. We've been at the prison. I know someone who was at Oklahoma City jail. They would not even give them toilet tissue. We offered to buy toilet tissue for them. They told us we could not.
Okay.
So there are things wrong with our criminal justice system, of which our police department is just a part. and they have to be answerable to somebody. They can't just operate on their own. They're paid with public funds. So when you're paid with public funds, you are accountable to the public. I don't know why that is so hard to understand. Yes, we need data, demographics, but we need to do something with it after we get it. But if the police operate as a separate entity and nobody is in charge of them, they can do whatever they want.
Right.
Answer.
Okay, thank you. I'll just make one final comment and then stop there. My final comment is there's a difference between data and information. Information is data that it's been interpreted. Data is just numbers on a paper, and it's open for misinterpretation. And I think the committee or commission that we're talking about forming is trying to come up with what the real answer is. It is going to be made public. It's not going to be behind closed doors and nobody's ever going to hear about it again. And I think every side has been represented. So I'm going to call, since everybody that signed up in advance, I know you asked, but I don't think you have any additional information beyond what we've heard. So. Everybody else signed up.
Shut it down.
Okay.
George, let's get out of here.
My real answer was if it. Okay, okay. Come forward. You got 2 minutes. That's it. This is the end of it.
Good control.
I'm really nervous. I've never done this before, but I'm not up here to attack the commission or any of you. And I'm definitely not up here to attack our Enid Police Department officers. But I am concerned about this tactic that's trying to be pushed. Because in the long run, if this officer is conducting in a misconductful way, then I feel that by passing this data collection, then in the future, it puts our Enid Police Department at risk of civil lawsuits and defunding. And for that reason, I do not support it at all. The majority of our offers serve our city because they want to keep our city safe. And if an officer does act out of line, that individual officer should be the one that's reprimanded. You do not throw the whole Enid Police Department under the bus. We need them. They have helped capture a suspect that harmed my daughter back in 2010. He was drinking and driving. He was a repeat drunk driver. He had ran into a house just a couple of months prior to that. My daughter was on the back of the four-wheeler. He drove the four-wheeler. He crashed into a parked car. They were both ejected off of the four-wheeler. My daughter was she went into immediate coma. She was a Glasgow coma scale of 3. She could not speak. She could not understand. She was bleeding profusely from her head and her lungs. She went into respiratory failure. The suspect, Kyle Ray Shepard, picked up my daughter. He was the driver. He picked up my daughter and placed her body back onto the four-wheeler with her head draping down on one side and her feet dangling down on the other side. He pushed her on the four-wheeler to a bridge in the opposite direction of his home in a neighborhood that was heavily housed. And he ran. He left my daughter. He left her for dead. And by a miracle of God, she survived. But that suspect, Kyle Ray Shepard, he was charged with great bodily injury and repeat DUI. However, due to prison overcrowding and us starting to label violent offenses and nonviolent offenses, he was able to get out of prison early. He was supposed to serve 4 years in prison just on the account with my daughter, and then the 5th year on probation. However, he got out in less than 3 years. And then after he was released early from prison, because we feel sorry for drug offenders and they act like they do no wrong, then he repeated multiple offenses since then. And I think the latest was in 2018. But he had been in prison a couple of times before that and had to serve jail. He had other offenses. Well, this whole discussion, I believe, is stemming from Maria Eve's son. He has numerous traffic violations. I'm not throwing him under the bus, but I think he was and his mother are making excuses for his traffic violations. And I feel like he's hiding from it. And that particular officer that she keeps attacking and what's brought all this up, well, I don't know if people know that, but that particular officer helped to take that guy, Kyle Shepard, who picked up my daughter and left her dead, draping over a bridge. And she was Glasgow, coma, and skull. She had to be in respiratory failure. She was on life support. And by the grace of God, even the neurosurgeon can tell you he did not think she was going to survive. And today, currently, unfortunately, she lives in a nursing home. But what I want to get back to is that officer. I did not realize at the time in 2018 that he was one of the officers that was involved in the 2018, I believe it is. The Kyle Ray Shepard repeated another offense, and he, was involved in stealing with an ATM and a Sears truck out of the parking lot of Sears, and had stolen goods and so forth and other charges. Well, that particular officer that Maria Eves is claiming to be racial profiling, well, that particular officer helped to bring a white person who is a criminal off the streets. And I commend him for that. I think I have more to say, but I know I went up my time and I shouldn't have spoke. I really hope that we hold an officer accountable, not the whole department.
Yeah. I'm sure we're all sorry for the troubles that you've had and sympathize with you. I've had a couple other sheets come up, but we could be here all night, and I'm afraid I'm not going to allow these. In the future, when you come in the door, you have to sign the sheets. Once the meeting starts, the meeting has started. So I apologize for not getting to those others, but that's what the rules are. Okay, item number 18, executive session.
I make a motion, we go into executive session.
Second.
Motion and a second. Call for the vote.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Norwood?
Aye.
Commissioner Ezell?
Aye.
Commissioner Waddell?
Aye.
Commissioner Stallings?
Aye.
Commissioner Orr?
Aye.
Mayor Pinkerton?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, we're going to reconvene. We'll reconvene after the executive session's over. Thank you.